Hi, I'm Corina Angela. Thanks so much for joining me today. I wanted to read you an entry from my book, Transference, Connect Your Soul Self. And I wrote this back in 2019 with Edgar Cayce and Gladys Davis Turner. And it's just been such a wonderful journey. And I'm excited to share more of my process with you and share the teachings of this amazing journey. And again, I wrote it back in 2019. It took me 4.5 years to process and integrate and acclimate to the energies and to go through all the exercises myself and explore of more of myself, but explore other information and connection and what it is to be and teach the light consciousness that it is. So, thank you for joining me today. And I'm just going to dive in and start reading. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to purchase my book, it's on Amazon or my website, which I'll leave in the comments. Okay. So I opened this morning to entry 28, and it was written on May 22nd, 2019, and the start time was 6:18 a.m. to, and the time end was 6:52 a.m. And the entry is called Resilience. So the way the layout, so I'm going to interject as well. So this is what I do and have done in my past groups. And when I'm connecting in with this book, we go even deeper. So I think I'm going to be sharing a lot, all of these entries and exercises over on my Patreon page, because we're going to go really deep diving in, and I'll be reading because what happens when I reconnect in with reading these passages, these connections, these entries, more and more information that is relevant comes in immediately. So it's interjecting more information for the foundation that was already laid in 2019. So when Edgar and Gladys came in 2019, when it first began, he was very, very specific of the layout of this entire book. So I had a timeline and everything. It was quite extraordinary. I had never done a timeline before. I had never even written a book before. So this was all new to me. I'm a pretty voracious reader, but I've never seen or yeah, the way the layout is, I've never seen this constructed this way. So it was very fascinating to me to receive it, see it, and then bring it into reality. So he was just very adamant about keeping the start time of when it began. So when I first connected in with Edgar and Gladys, I would always have my phone by me to look at the time. Okay, this is when we're starting. So I'd hurry up and write down the time. And then when we ended, I would, I look at my phone again and write down the end time. So I didn't realize it in the beginning how important it was, but so, as an automatic writer, everything is in my notebook and everything is verbatim here in this book. He didn't want anything edited. I was only to edit my personal pieces in the book, and which I didn't understand at the time, but I do now. So, it's a reference point of, oh, okay. So it's verbatim. That's what came through in 2019 when I look back at my notebook. Um, but again, I didn't realize how important it was. I just was very open and a neutral observer and listening intently to them both of what their wishes were. And I never questioned, I questioned perhaps along the way, like, like, why am I doing this? And it's in the book as well. Um, but now looking back, I understand the importance of it. And I'm just so happy I listened um, with my heart. And yeah, so let's begin. So let's see the quote. So it's resilience. This is the entry number 28. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, Oxford Dictionary, resilience. So we're going to dive in. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed this morning as I began my early morning routine. Usually I'm very excited to connect, but today I was feeling a strong sense of resistance. To what? To figure this all out? Perhaps I am not resistant, and I am to remain in the flow of least resistance. This is what I will focus on and ask Edgar about it this morning in this morning's meeting. When Edgar, Gladys, and I connected, I blurted out my first question. Q&A. CA, Corina Angela. Why do we feel resistance? Edgar Cayce, EC. We are letting fear run away with us. With ego and fear, they commingle. Learning patience and to recognize are the steps. Confusion is a state of consciousness which we inhabit when embraced by fear and anxiety. There is no need for that. So here he's really saying, hey, look at your feelings, look at your thoughts. When ego and fear commingle, this is what happens, right? We begin to resist even more. As they say, what we resist persists. And it is very true. But this is even going in a deeper sense of the word. And when we think this way, we begin to culminate a way that we can almost figure out a way. We can figure out a way to rectify and implement those steps, right? Implement those steps. So confusion, so I'm going to reiterate some sentences that he's yeah, he's like reread. So this is what happens to they're here now. So it's like, okay. So I'll be like, I'll be kind of looking up and around and be like, oh, okay. Side conversations, then that's my life. So funny. It's very interesting. And you got to have a sense of humor about this work, right? I mean, you just have to. Confusion is a state of consciousness which we inhabit when embraced by fear and anxiety. No need for that. So, CA, Corina Angela, how do we get out of this state of confusion? So when we're in it, I'm asking like, okay, so how do we get out of it? What are I need more steps. Like, come on, break it on down, right? EC, don't go into it. Simple, straightforward. Why go through the turmoil? So when we're catching ourselves before we even go into the turmoil, it's like, why would we do that to ourselves? Why go into the fear and the anxiety and then get wrapped up in that turmoil of fear and anxiety and emotional chaos, right? It's like if we stop ourselves before we even start, that's simple, right? To catch ourselves before we go there. So clarity and the breath of knowing. So he's emphasizing, be in the knowing. Be in the knowing when you begin to fear something, right? Be in your knowing when you begin to feel that anxiety, be in the knowing. You know what anxiety feels like, right? You know what fear feels like. That's why yoga and the prana breath are so prevalent. Confusion state, look up. So he's saying, Corina, look it up. What is the confusion state? Look it up. So that was my research, it's like, so he would impart, pieces for me to do within the translation, when we're working together and connecting, he would always give me these side references, and most of which are in the book. And then some are for my personal process that I was going through on any given day. So there was many exercises that are not in the book that I needed to go through and process. And then, because there were some days that I was like, what? And then he would show me, or he would take me through a past life regression, or he would show me different things so I could understand on a deeper level for myself, even so I could translate the information more clearly. So that was really important, for me to discover and to go through, um, many of the things that I did go through, creating this book with them, and to more be in service to other people, to explain it in a more simplistic way, in a clearer way, and to give other people more clarity of where they are at in their lives, to help them on their path. Let's see, where was I? Many articles and case studies when were I where I helped confused clients not knowing themselves and trusting themselves. A process a process of elimination of the layers we clog up in our rational way of thinking. Look up brain activity and the confusion state of confusion. Please look up and write about it. So again, he's referencing people and clients that he has helped in the past, and he would actually show me, and I'd be like, oh, he would show me, certain clients would come up, and I could see them physically with my third eye, and I could see how he was helping them through the process. So it was quite fascinating. So, but it was giving me more layers of understanding. So that's what he was entrusting with me, to show me these snapshots of how it occurred and how he helped his clients. So now he's telling me, to look up brain activity and what is the true state of, confusion. CA. Okay, Edgar, thank you. And I will look them up. That was my that was my duty for the day. Sorry. EC, that is it for now. So we were complete. And then here's the information that Edgar wanted me to look up and write more about, related to the state of confusion and brain activity. So in this process, what happened, we would disconnect, but not really. So I would come back, open up my eyes, and then begin to do the research. So all the while when I was looking up, state of confusion, they are with me still. The energy is with me as I look up the information that is pertinent for this book. So my process was, I would look it up. I would look up, confusion of the brain, or I would look up a main topic, type it into the computer or Google it or whatever, and begin to research. And then I would hear, or, see an image, and I would hear, yep, that's it, and then I would dive in deeper, dive in deeper, dive in deeper. And then there's always articles related to that subject pertaining to a very specific, confusion of the brain, or brain confusion, or whatever the state of confusion that he wanted me to put in the book. So that was the part of the research that we all did together, but that was my component of, searching for more information that backed up, resilience. Let's say, this entry number 28. So he would, and this was for every entry, we would do some sort of research, or if he wanted a specific book to reference to, he would help me find this information. So if that makes sense. And then for, the rest of the pieces, as as it goes further on into the book, it became more and more evident that there was, very specific things that I was not to read, articles that I was not to read, because it was other people's perception, and other people's filters, let's say, that he did not want me to read. So it was very early on, but then throughout the book, it was very clear on, he was very clear on specific areas to do research and very specific areas not to do the research. And that's the where Heather Felty came in, helping me with all the rest of the research information that was very pertinent for specific articles and specific readings that he wanted in the book. So she would actually, and it's all in the book, you know, the referencing Heather's part in it, which I'm so incredibly grateful for. Thank you, Heather. Um, and you know, it was this process in the beginning. Again, it's in the book, a step-by-step process of how the information was to come in. I was in the beginning, again, it's in the book. But in the beginning, I wasn't to read any of Edgar's books, anybody else that wrote about him, any articles, any readings of his, and for very good reason. To remain pure, to remain unfiltered, to remain so I wouldn't get anybody's preconceived notions or other perceptions of their perspective on Edgar and Gladys's work. So that was very, very important to be very clear of that's the way we were going to work together. So, you know, in the beginning, I was like very incredibly frustrated because I was receiving all this information and not knowing how to, you know, ascertain it and you know, what were the steps. And at one point I just said help because I don't know how to do this. And if you're saying, you know, please don't read anything, but then you're telling me all this information to look up, you know, pertaining to his readings and articles and so on and so forth. How is it to be in the book and how was I to find it? So that's when Heather Felty came in. Gladys told me when I was receiving one day that, you know, she would send help and it would be a couple days and I would receive the help. And sure enough, that's what happened. And Heather came in such a beautiful way. And unbeknownst to me, I had no idea she was an editor. I had no idea that she had beautiful channeling abilities. I had no idea. And it was just the way, you know, it was orchestrated so divinely. You just can't make up this stuff, you know, you just can't. It just, when it happens, it's just so beautiful. So then when Heather came on board and you know, I asked her to help me write this book and help me put things into perspective and help me um, edit and research. And so she said yes to the research. So we basically, you know, Edgar Gladys would come in. They would give me very specific articles or research to do that uh, Heather could do. So basically, I would give the information or the article number or, you know, the topic of the article. Heather then would go to ARE and research it in their database and then bring back the information. Then I would check in with them, like, okay, is that the right one? Is this the right one? Which one do you want in the book? So on and so forth. And that's how it continued through out this whole process of the 4 months of writing this first book. So that was our process. And but you can tell and you know later on if you're following the books, you know, the process of the book, it's a step-by-step process of the ripple effect of how it was being created, but how the information began to get broader and wider and more quickly. And it was quite extraordinary how it all came to fruition. So as you can tell, the entries become longer. My dialogue becomes longer. My questions become more articulate because I started getting in this beautiful flow of rhythm. It was the flow of transference. So that's towards the end of the book, you can really feel the energy pulsating, and the information was so streamlined and so fast and so incredibly flowing. It was quite extraordinary. So that's what I wanted to share today. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and that's what happens. But um, I just wanted to share just a bit of the reading. It goes into state of confusion, what I found. And then there's an Edgar Cayce reading, 1711-2. It was a female, 59, in the 1940s, and reading more about memory loss and the state of confusion. Um, so, and then towards the end of resilience entry, I go into a deep dive of, again, my personal process of what I ascertained, what I was understanding, my process, but also bringing it into a snapshot, a simplistic snapshot, so others could um, reinterpret it and understand it to another level. So that's, bits and pieces of each entry, what begins to unravel. So as you're deep diving into this book, it goes deeper and deeper the more and more that you read it. So I think this will be very important over in Patreon when I am reading each entry, because this is exactly what happens. We go in very deep, and then when we'll have Q&A and then have live, um, everybody can, participate and ask questions where questions are needed, and to expand their knowledge and to expand the teachings of this amazing book. And then taking even a deeper dive into the exercises. So in resilience, there's exercise number 11, the pineal gland activation. So this is a deep dive into how to activate it. So this is really cool. I'm very excited about it. So we're not going to do it right now, but that's what's in store for Transference, Connect to Your Soul Self, and we'll be diving in deep over in Patreon. So I hope you join me over there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So look for that. I'll be posting more about my Patreon page and how to find it and all those good things coming up in the near future. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the reading of Resilience, and I hope you'll buy the book and connect in for yourself and really explore it to learn how to connect more in with yourself and connect in with your soul self, and what light consciousness is all about, and how can we dive in deeper and learn from and expand from and all the juiciness that comes from that. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.